My husband Jake, 30 years old, and I, 27 years old, recently welcomed our first baby, Emma, who is now 3 months old. As most new parents know, it's been a challenging time, filled with sleepless nights and endless diaper changes. I am on maternity leave, so I am home with Emma all day, but I still need help from Jake, especially during the night. Jake works from home and is a huge gamer. He spends most of his free time playing online games with his friends. I have tried to be understanding and give him his space, but it has been hard when he refuses to help with Emma at night. I have asked him multiple times to take turns getting up with her, but he always says he is too tired or that he has an important game. Breastfeeding has been particularly difficult. Emma often struggles to latch properly, leading to painful and sometimes cracked body part. I have had mastitis twice already, which leaves me feeling feverish and in intense pain. Despite seeing me in pain, Jake just laughs it off, finding it amusing. He never offers to help during these moments, even though I am visibly struggling and desperate for support. One night, after I had been up with Emma for the third time and Jake was still glued to his computer, I had had enough. I went into his office and asked him to take over so I could get some sleep. He waved me off, saying he was in the middle of a game and that I should just handle it. He added, "You're on maternity leave and free all day while I have to work, so I need time to relax. You're just sitting around doing nothing all day anyway." I was exhausted and on the verge of tears. I needed his help, but he was completely dismissive. In a moment of frustration and desperation, I walked over to the router and turned off the Wi-Fi. That's when Jake completely lost it. He stormed out of his office, screaming at me. Apparently, he and his friends were in some sort of online tournament, and they were about to win when I unplugged the Wi-Fi. He called me selfish, irresponsible, and accused me of sabotaging his one form of relaxation. He went on to say that I had no right to interfere with his me time, and that I should have just waited until he was done. I calmly explained that I needed his help, and that our baby was more important than his game. He refused to listen, and continued to berate me, adding that I have not even been having intimacy with him and that we have only had intimacy 4 times since Emma was born. He accused me of wanting to take everything away from him while doing nothing all day and sitting at home on my butt. Jake never helps during the day either, even after he finishes work at 5 p.m. I do not expect him to help during work hours, but once he is off, he should be stepping up as a parent. Instead, he goes straight to his games, leaving me to handle everything alone. Since then, he has been sulking around the house, barely speaking to me. To make matters worse, his friends have been sending me nasty messages, calling me a crazy wife, and saying I am unreasonable. One of them even suggested that Jake should leave me because I am too demanding. I feel like I am losing my mind here, just trying to get a bit of support. I am exhausted, and all I wanted was for Jake to step up and be a parent too. Instead, I am being painted as the villain for wanting help with our newborn. Am I the jerk? To add, for those saying why I married him and did not I know this before, Jake was completely different before Emma was born. He was supportive and understanding. This behavior is new and shocking to me, almost forgot. To all those calling me the jerk, I am sorry. Your words cut deep and I feel more hurt than I can express. I did not turn off the Wi-Fi out of spite or because I could not handle my responsibilities. It was a desperate act after feeling completely unsupported and alone. I feel like I am drowning in guilt and sadness. This time with Emma has been incredibly challenging. I am constantly exhausted and in pain from breastfeeding. All I do is cry because I feel like such a failure. I just cannot anymore. Jake works hard, and I appreciate him, but his indifference to my struggles makes me feel so isolated. I spend my days and nights in tears, wondering if I am failing as a mother and a wife. All I have wanted is for us to share the responsibilities of parenting, especially during those late-night feedings and diaper changes that leave me feeling so drained. I have been struggling with feelings of sadness and guilt, wondering if I am failing as a mother and a wife. It is not about controlling his downtime. It is about needing his support during this incredibly tough time. I wish you could understand the depth of loneliness and frustration I have been feeling. Your words about me being selfish and immature hit hard because I have been questioning myself constantly. I never wanted to play the victim or make Jake out to be the bad guy. All I wanted was for us to work together as a team like we promised each other when we decided to start a family. I am sorry if my actions hurt anyone, including Jake and his friends. I was overwhelmed and at my breaking point. I am trapped in a cycle of guilt, feeling like everything is my fault. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just do not know how to cope anymore. I am not trying to be selfish. I am just trying to survive. Almost forgot. A lot of people are saying I am making breastfeeding a huge deal, and millions of moms do it too. But mastitis is not just a minor inconvenience. It is an excruciating, throbbing pain that feels like shards of glass stabbing into my breasts with every suckle. Sometimes the pain is so intense that I cry silently while Emma feeds, and I have to bury my face in a pillow to muffle my cries because Jake has made it clear that my suffering is a nuisance to him. He says he is either working, gaming, or sleeping, so I should not disturb him. And some people are saying that even if this happens to me, then what the frick should he do here? Do I expect him to grow a breast and feed Emma? But no, I am not expecting him to do that. I just want him to support me. He never offers to help during these moments, even though I am in tears and desperately in need of support. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm sorry, but your immature man is not mature enough to be a father. Don't prolong this. Figure out your exit plan and serve him papers. Do not waste time in therapy. Not that he would go. Do not threaten divorce to try to make him change. Talk with a lawyer immediately, find out the laws and your options, and make a plan. Get your ducks in a row and then serve him. That should be the first time he knows you're planning to divorce him, so he doesn't have time to retaliate. And he will retaliate. Comment 2. As soon as he brought up the lack of intimacy, it showed who he was. If you told him that you wanted intimacy, he would stop gaming when he came home. This has to do with you not attending to his needs. You need to really think about if you want your daughter to be raised in a house where her father treats her mother badly. Remember that kids learn what is acceptable behavior in relationships by watching what their parents do. Is this the kind of relationship that you would want your daughter to have? Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments from the last post. 2 weeks have passed since I last updated, and things have been very eventful. After the Wi-Fi incident, Jake and I barely spoke for a few days. The tension in the house was unbearable. I was still dealing with Emma's needs and my own exhaustion, while Jake continued to sulk and play his games. One night, after another argument about his lack of involvement, I decided to take Emma and stay with my mom for a few days. I needed a break and some support, and I thought maybe the distance would make Jake realize how much I needed him. Staying with my mom was a relief. She helped with Emma, allowing me to get some much-needed rest. We talked about everything that had been happening, and she reminded me that I deserved support and respect from my partner. I felt validated, but I also knew I couldn't stay with her forever. I had to go back and face Jake. When I returned home, Jake seemed a bit more subdued. He apologized for his outburst and admitted that he had been selfish. He promised to try harder and be more present for Emma and me. I wanted to believe him, but I was still wary. Actions speak louder than words, after all. For a few days, things seemed to improve. Jake started helping with Emma in the evenings, and he even took over a couple of night feedings so I could get some sleep. I was cautiously optimistic, hoping that this was the start of a positive change. But then, something unexpected happened. One evening, while Jake was playing his games, I overheard him talking to one of his friends. They were discussing a new job opportunity that Jake had been offered. It was a remote position with a significant pay increase, but it required him to travel for training and occasional meetings. I was shocked that he hadn't mentioned it to me. When I confronted him about it, he brushed it off, saying he didn't want to stress me out with more changes. This revelation led to another heated argument. I felt betrayed that he hadn't included me in such an important decision. Jake argued that he was trying to secure a better future for our family, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was using this job as an escape from his responsibilities at home. The trust between us was already fragile, and this only made things worse. As the days went by, Jake's behavior became more erratic. He would be attentive and helpful one moment, then distant and absorbed in his games the next. I started to notice that he was drinking more, often having a few beers while gaming. It wasn't long before I realized that he was using alcohol to cope with the stress and pressure he was feeling. This added another layer of complexity to our already strained relationship. One night, after a particularly rough day with Emma, I found Jake passed out on the couch, an empty beer bottle in his hand. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I needed him to be present and reliable, but he was slipping further away. I decided to reach out to his sister, who had always been supportive of our relationship. I hoped she could talk some sense into him. Jake's sister came over the next day, and we had a long conversation. She was shocked to see the state of our relationship and promised to talk to Jake. That evening, she sat down with him and had a heart-to-heart. I don't know all the details of their conversation, but it seemed to have an impact. Jake agreed to cut back on his gaming and drinking, and he promised to seek help if he couldn't manage on his own. For the next week, things were relatively calm. Jake was more present and engaged with Emma, and he even started attending a virtual support group for new dads. I felt a glimmer of hope, thinking that maybe we could get through this together. But then, another twist came our way. One afternoon, while Jake was at a support group meeting, I received a call from his boss. They were concerned about Jake's performance at work and wanted to know if everything was okay at home. I was taken aback, as I had no idea his work was being affected. I assured them that we were dealing with some personal issues, but that Jake was committed to improving. After the call, I confronted Jake about it, and he admitted that he had been struggling to balance work, gaming, and family life. This was a turning point for both of us. We realized that we couldn't keep going the way we were. We needed to make some serious changes if we wanted to save our relationship and provide a stable environment for Emma. We decided to seek couples therapy, hoping that a professional could help us navigate our issues and find a way to reconnect. In therapy, we uncovered some deeper issues that had been festering beneath the surface. Jake admitted that he felt overwhelmed by the responsibility of being a new dad, and that he used gaming as an escape. He also revealed that he was struggling with feelings of inadequacy, fearing that he wasn't a good enough father or partner. I shared my own feelings of isolation and frustration, and we both acknowledged that we had been neglecting our emotional connection. As we worked through these issues, we started to understand each other better. Jake made a genuine effort to be more present and supportive, and I tried to be more patient and understanding of his struggles. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of tension and conflict, but we were making progress. One evening, after a particularly good therapy session, Jake and I sat down and talked about our future. We agreed that we needed to prioritize our relationship and our family. Jake decided to take a short leave of absence from work to focus on his mental health and our family. It was a difficult decision, but we both knew it was necessary. As we navigated this challenging time, I couldn't help but reflect on our journey. We had come a long way from the days of sleepless nights and endless arguments. We were still a work in progress, but we were committed to making it work. Our love for each other and our desire to provide a happy, stable home for Emma kept us going. Thank you for reading. Am I the idiot for blaming my husband's childhood friend for harboring my runaway stepdaughter? My husband had a friend, Aaron, who he grew up with. When I married him, Aaron and I got along great, and she was one of my best friends for about 7 years. My husband has a daughter, Caitlin, and I had a daughter, Rachel. Caitlin and I never had a close relationship as she didn't want one, but I thought we were all fine. Then, when the girls were both seniors in high school, Rachel broke down and told me Caitlin and her friends had been bullying her for a while. She said they made sure no boys talked to her, whispered about her at school, and Caitlin had embarrassed her just that day in front of a group. I was irate but tried to think straight. My husband and I confronted Caitlin, and she didn't really deny it. She didn't have much to say and then suddenly blew up about how she never asked for a stepfamily. She admitted she had been bullying Rachel for years. I demanded her father punish her. He was going to just ground her, but that seemed so minor after what she had done to Rachel. He agreed that she was grounded for the rest of the school year, 2.5 months, no prom, and we would be donating some of her fancy clothes to the less fortunate. We went out that night to get some dinner. Caitlin said she didn't want to eat, so she stayed home, and when we returned, all of her stuff was gone. She had a lot of stuff, and there is no way she could have got it all out in an hour, so we checked the cameras, and she had some boys helping her. Her dad tracked her phone and found out she was at Aaron's house. We went to get her, and Aaron said to let her stay, that she needed love and patience, not discipline. She said our punishment was too harsh. I was blindsided, and we demanded Caitlin come with us, but she wouldn't. The police were called and pretty much said she was close enough to 18 that they wouldn't get involved. So basically, Caitlin got no punishment. We took her phone that night, but that was it. Erin let her drive a car she owned, let her stay there for free on all of her breaks from college, and even gave her a cushy summer job. Erin is dead to me. I will never forgive her, but recently she sent us a long text about how she is getting married. She misses our friendship. So much time has passed. She said she just wanted to help Caitlin, and if we could see Caitlin now, we would know she did the right thing. I told her to never contact me again. My husband thought that was cruel and asked if we could consider going for coffee and just hearing her side. I blew up and said he was failing Rachel, and if he chose Erin over us, I would leave him. He has been quiet ever since and still thinks I'm being harsh. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the jerk. Erin poked her nose where it never belonged, your parenting, and hugely overstepped your boundaries. Caitlin got off without so much as a slap on the wrist, and she never apologized to Rachel. Her actions got rug swept once already. If you let her off again because time has passed, you'll be the one failing Rachel. I also don't hear Erin apologizing either. Neither wants to take accountability and just hope they can stop facing the consequences of their actions. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Erin enabled the bully or tormented your daughter. She enabled a runaway and decided she had more say than the child's actual parents. You're not being harsh. He's being a jerk for thinking this is forgivable. Unless Caitlin has made massive amends to your daughter, nothing has changed. How did she help the bully, get her therapy, have her volunteer with a youth crisis center, hold her accountable in any way? Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. So, a lot has happened since then, and it's been very eventful of emotions and decisions. About a month ago, Rachel came home from college for a weekend visit. She seemed more withdrawn than usual, and I could tell something was bothering her. After some coaxing, she finally opened up. She told me that she had run into Caitlin at a party. Caitlin had approached her and tried to apologize for everything that had happened. Rachel said she didn't know how to react and just walked away. This brought back a lot of old wounds for her, and she was struggling to focus on her studies. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I wanted to protect Rachel from any more pain, but I also knew that Caitlin's attempt to apologize might mean she was finally realizing the impact of her actions. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to talk to my husband about it. He suggested that maybe it was time to let Rachel and Caitlin have a proper conversation, supervised by us, to see if they could find some closure. I was hesitant, but I agreed to think about it. Meanwhile, Erin's wedding was approaching, and my husband kept bringing up the idea of meeting her for coffee. I was still furious with her, but I could see that my husband was genuinely torn. He missed his friend, and he believed that Erin had acted out of misguided love for Caitlin. I finally agreed to meet Erin, but only if Rachel was okay with it. Rachel surprised me by saying she thought it might be a good idea. She said she wanted to understand why Erin had taken Caitlin's side and if there was any chance of mending things. So we met Erin at a local cafe. It was awkward at first, but Erin seemed genuinely remorseful. She explained that she had seen Caitlin as a second daughter and couldn't bear to see her so upset. She admitted that she had overstepped and that she regretted not considering Rachel's feelings more. She also revealed something shocking. Caitlin had confided in her that she had been struggling with severe anxiety and depression during high school, which had contributed to her lashing out at Rachel. Erin had kept this a secret, thinking she was protecting Caitlin, but now she realized it had only made things worse. This revelation forced me to reconsider everything. I was still angry, but I also felt a pang of sympathy for Caitlin. I knew what it was like to struggle with mental health issues, and I couldn't help but wonder if things could have been different if we had known. My husband suggested that we all sit down together, me, him, Rachel, Caitlin, and Erin, to try and work through everything. I was reluctant, but I agreed to give it a try. The meeting was tense. Caitlin was visibly nervous and Rachel was guarded. My husband and I tried to facilitate the conversation, but it was clear that there was a lot of hurt on both sides. Caitlin apologized again, this time more sincerely, and explained her struggles. Rachel listened but didn't say much. After a while, Rachel finally spoke up. She said she appreciated the apology, but wasn't sure if she could ever fully forgive Caitlin. She needed time to process everything. In the days that followed, Rachel seemed more at peace. She said that while she wasn't ready to forgive Caitlin completely, she felt better knowing that Caitlin was genuinely sorry and that there were reasons behind her actions. My husband and I decided to give Rachel the space she needed to figure things out. As for Aaron, our relationship is still strained, but we're trying to rebuild it slowly. My husband and I have had many long conversations about trust, forgiveness, and the complexities of friendships. It's been a challenging time, but I think we're starting to understand each other better. One night, my husband and I were talking about everything that had happened, and he revealed something that shook me to my core. He admitted that he had known about Caitlin's struggles, but had kept it from me because he didn't want to worry me. He thought he could handle it on his own, but now he realized that was a mistake. I was furious at first, feeling betrayed and hurt. But as we talked more, I began to understand his perspective. He had been trying to protect me, but in doing so, he had only made things worse. This revelation forced me to confront my own feelings and actions. I realized that I had been so focused on protecting Rachel that I hadn't considered the full picture. I had been quick to judge and slow to forgive. It was a hard pill to swallow, but it was necessary for our family to move forward. In the end, we're all still healing. Rachel is focusing on her studies and trying to move past the hurt. Caitlin is working on her mental health and trying to make amends. My husband and I are working on our communication and trust. And Erin, well, she's still a work in progress, but we're trying to find a way to coexist. Thank you for reading. Am I the idiot for calling out a guest who wore a white wedding dress to my sister's wedding? I am at my sister's wedding right now. I'm so happy for her. Here's the problem. This random guest is wearing a very beautiful and obvious wedding gown to what's supposed to be my sister's special day. Back when I was younger and she was a teenager, she told me that if she got married and someone wore white to my wedding, she wanted me to spill a gallon of syrup and glitter on her as payback. Now, the only unfortunate part is that I have no access to syrup or glitter. You might be thinking wine because that's the most commonly used weapon in these situations, but they won't let me near the alcohol table. The only drinks available to the 5 children here are Sprite, orange juice, and water. Now, I would do orange juice, but there is very little left, and my cousin would unalive me. So what to do? I'm pretty sure everyone here has noticed the white dress and is a tad confused by it. My whole family and the groom's side aren't big traditional followers, so you basically could wear anything to this wedding and not be directly called out. However, this seems very deliberate, and I know my sister has noticed it because how the hell would you not? So what should I do? Honestly, just tell me because I don't know. I might go talk to her. I love talking to crazy people. Now for an update. So I want to make it clear that I am very much a gentle giant and would never do something so bold. My cousin and I thought this would be pretty funny to see what other people thought. Now I finally spoke to my sister and her husband. My sister actually didn't notice her and got pretty upset when I pointed it out. I feel kind of bad about that. I asked her if she knew the person, to which she said no, then asked her husband if he did, and he said it was his cousin's +1 and girlfriend. I asked her if she wanted me to do anything about it, and she told me yes, but also to not make a big scene out of it. So one thing I'm pretty good at is info fishing. I sidled my way up to the guest with my little cousin, not the same cousin as before, and started some small talk with the guests around her, which eventually led to her being brought into the conversation. Now my little cousin is blunt and childish, which is why I brought his amazing self along, and asks why she has the white dress on as planned. She stutters a little, then mumbles something about her being colorblind. Okay. Pause. What? I've heard of colorblindness where you can't see anything but black or white, and if I'm honest, I kind of just walked away after that. Like, how do I respond to that? Because if she's actually colorblind and thought the dress was a light shade of some color or other, then I'm the AH and she doesn't deserve me bitching about it, you know? Then again, if she's lying, that's freaking crazy. I basically just told my sister that, and she gave me the most WTF face she could manage. She decided not to worry about it and just have a happy wedding. I'm happy for her, and honestly, just happy she's such a great person and so much better than me, LOL. Now for another update. So my cousin and I have decided that we were the AH and we accept it. It would have been worse if we acted on the joke, however. The woman has left and her boyfriend is nowhere to be seen, so all is well. My cousin and I brought the post up to my sister, who was a bit tipsy, so I'll ask again later, and asked if we should delete since it was unkind of us to do it at her wedding. She laughed at us after reading the post and a few comments and told us we were fine and also hilarious. I'm glad my sister is happy, and when my sister is happy, I'm happy. Let's just celebrate that my sister got married. Woo, go sister! Sure, I'm just a 17-year-old and acting childish, but you bet your butt that I'll live out my last year of childhood acting like the biggest toddler of all. I love you, sis, now. For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Just leave your sister. She might be having a lovely day and just not bothered. When I was getting married, someone could have worn the most elaborate dress in the world. I just wouldn't have even noticed. Comment 2. Ask your sister if she approved this. If not, loudly ask the guest why she's wearing white to someone else's wedding. But check with your sister first, not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since the last post. So, after the whole wedding dress incident, things got a bit more complicated. The woman in the white dress, who claimed to be colorblind, ended up causing more drama than we initially thought. After she left, my sister and her husband were approached by his cousin, who was the one who brought her. He was really apologetic and explained that she had a history of pulling stunts like this for attention. Apparently, she had done something similar at another wedding, but they thought she had changed. My sister and her husband were pretty upset about it, but they decided to let it go and enjoy the rest of their night. The next day, we found out that the woman had posted pictures from the wedding on social media, making it look like she was the bride. She even tagged my sister and her husband in the photos, which caused a lot of confusion among their friends and family. My sister was furious and wanted to confront her, but her husband convinced her to let him handle it. He contacted his cousin and asked him to talk to her about taking the photos down. The cousin agreed and promised to deal with it. Meanwhile, my cousin and I were feeling pretty guilty about the whole situation. We had a long talk about how our joke might have made things worse, and we decided to apologize to my sister and her husband. They were really understanding and told us that they didn't blame us for what happened. They appreciated that we were trying to protect my sister's special day, even if it didn't go as planned. As the days went on, the woman refused to take down the photos and things started to escalate. My sister's husband decided to take legal action, and they contacted a lawyer to see what their options were. The lawyer advised them to send a cease and desist letter, which they did. The woman finally took the photos down, but not before causing a lot of stress and frustration for my sister and her husband. During all of this, I started to think about why I was so quick to jump into action at the wedding. I realized that I have a tendency to try and fix things for the people I care about, even if it means getting myself into trouble. I remembered a time when I was younger, and my sister was being bullied at school. I stood up for her and ended up getting into a fight with the bully. I got in trouble, but my sister was grateful, and it made me feel like I had done the right thing. I guess that experience stuck with me, and I still feel the need to protect her, even now. My sister and her husband eventually decided to have a small get-together with close family and friends to celebrate their wedding without any drama. It was a really nice evening, and it gave us all a chance to relax and enjoy each other's company. My sister thanked me for always having her back, and it made me feel good to know that she appreciated my efforts, even if they didn't always go as planned. Looking back, I can see that my actions were driven by a deep desire to protect my sister and make sure she had the perfect wedding day. I know now that sometimes it's better to take a step back and let things unfold naturally, rather than trying to control every situation. My sister and her husband are happy, and that's what matters most. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.